Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Case Lizzie Marriott. In the heart of Dover, a gripping story unfolded, touching the lives of many. This isn't just any tale. It's a chilling reality check. Imagine any of us in her place. This is the story of Lizzie Marriott, a young woman who vanished without a trace, leaving behind a maze of mysteries and unanswered questions. But her disappearance is just one piece of a larger puzzle. One day, Catherine Fish made a crucial call to the police. She decided it was finally time to reveal the truth about her ex-boyfriend, Seth Mazzaglia. They had met 10 years ago, but only now did she feel compelled to share her memories of him. At the start of their relationship, Seth was the perfect boyfriend. Attentive, caring, showering her with flowers and compliments, and completely devoted to her. However, as their relationship deepened, Catherine discovered that Seth was into BDSM. Initially, she thought it was similar to the movie 50 Shades of Grey. But over time, Seth's behavior became increasingly aggressive. He often shared his dark fantasies with her, including disturbing ideas about ending a person's life. One terrifying day, Seth grabbed her by the throat so forcefully that Catherine feared for her life. Despite this, she continued living with him. Seth frequently insisted that they needed another woman in their relationship. He brought various women into their home, but none stayed long. Catherine's life was becoming unbearable, yet she was too afraid to leave, fearing what he might do if he found her. A few months later, Catherine managed to escape secretly. She fled to her parents' house, 600 miles away, and never saw Seth again. As Catherine recounted her harrowing experience, it became clear that Seth was not who he seemed. The image of the caring boyfriend was shattered, replaced by one of fear and horror. The pressing question now was, who is Seth Mazzaglia? Seth Mazzaglia, a 30-year-old, graduated from the University of New Hampshire with a degree in theater arts. He was also trained as an emergency medical technician and held a black belt in karate. He worked as an ordinary consultant at an electrical goods store and taught martial arts. When Catherine, often called Kat, met Seth, she was just 17. Shortly after she turned 18, Seth proposed that they move in together. Kat moved into Seth's apartment in Dover, New Hampshire. Kat's colleagues noticed a drastic change in her after she started dating Seth. Once kind and sociable, she became withdrawn, stopped talking to her friends and colleagues, and even ceased contact with her family. Her parents disapproved of her relationship with Seth, leading Kat to choose her boyfriend over her family. The couple practiced BDSM, with Seth as the dominant partner and Kat as the submissive. Kat even posted online under the names Vampire Actress and Miss Scarlet, sharing photos and a disturbing message. My master and I are looking for a slave, and we provide accommodation. We are seeking a woman for intimate relationships and housework. My master is 30 years old. I am a nymphomaniac and completely obey him. This is how our home life works. We also have a cat. We want the new girl to maintain order in the apartment, wash dishes, do laundry, and cook food. She should also be available for different types of intimacy at any time, day or night. We don't want her to have a job outside the house. All her actions will take place only after the master's approval. Around the same time, the city was abuzz with the mysterious disappearance of a woman named Lizzie. Who was she, and how was she connected to these events? Elizabeth Marriott, known as Lizzie, was born in 1993 in Massachusetts. She grew up in a loving family and had a younger brother. From a young age, Lizzie adored animals, especially amphibians. One day, she found a frog on the road, delightedly picked it up, and carried it to a nearby stream. After graduating from high school in 2011, Lizzie enrolled in college in her hometown. Alongside her studies, she was actively involved in volunteering and animal rescue efforts. In the fall of 2012, 19-year-old Lizzie transferred to the University of New Hampshire, where she was in her second year, studying marine biology. A dream come true for her. As Lizzie's life intertwined with Seth and Kat's dark world, the unfolding events would reveal a sinister connection, leaving everyone questioning the true nature of those involved. Lizzie wanted to work in her chosen field, and during her studies, She moved into her aunt and uncle's house in Chester to save money on rent. She also worked part-time as a manager at Target. Classmates and colleagues described Lizzie as a kind and outgoing girl who never hesitated to lend a hand. However, one day, Lizzie's life took a dramatic turn. It was an ordinary Tuesday, October 9, 2012. Lizzie spent most of the day at the university and left around 8 p.m. Before heading out, she left a note for her aunt, saying she was going to visit a friend and would be back by midnight. But midnight came and went, and Lizzie didn't return. By 1 a.m., then 2 a.m., and even into Wednesday morning, Lizzie was still nowhere to be found. Initially, her aunt and uncle thought she might have stayed over at her friend's place and gone straight to the university the next day. However, as another day passed without any word from Lizzie, concern turned to alarm. By Thursday, with still no sign of Lizzie, her aunt called Lizzie's parents, hoping they had heard from her. Lizzie's father revealed that he hadn't been able to reach her for several days. Lizzie's parents, who lived 2 hours away from Chester, immediately set out to find their daughter. On the way, they contacted the police to report Lizzie as missing. Unfortunately, neither her parents nor her aunt and uncle knew which friend Lizzie had planned to visit that night. The police launched an active search for the missing young woman. Lizzie's phone was off, she wasn't active on social media, and there was no activity on her bank accounts. At first, detectives feared Lizzie might have been in an accident. However, her car was soon found parked at the University of New Hampshire campus. The car was empty, and there were no clues to her whereabouts. Lizzie's parents made a public appeal, offering a $10,000 reward for any information about their daughter's location. The police interviewed all of Lizzie's friends and discovered that on October 9th, she was supposed to visit Kat McDonough. Lizzie and Kat had recently become friends while working together at Target. Colleagues mentioned that the two sometimes hung out after work. When Lizzie went missing, her friend Nate, knowing she was supposed to visit Kat, texted Kat to ask if Lizzie had been at her place. Kat replied, "No, I haven't seen her. She hasn't come to see me." At that time, 18-year-old Kat was living with her boyfriend, Seth Mazzaglia. Kat and Seth had met a year earlier at a theater, where both were actors. Investigators quickly became convinced that Seth Mazzaglia and Kat McDonough were somehow linked to Lizzie's disappearance. Lizzie vanished on October 9th, and by the 12th, Seth and Kat were called in for questioning. They were placed in separate rooms and interrogated simultaneously. Kat insisted that she hadn't seen Lizzie that night and denied that Lizzie had visited them on October 9th. After about 2 hours of questioning, Kat stopped cooperating with the police and was allowed to go home. However, Seth remained at the station, undergoing an extended interrogation. Unlike Kat, Seth admitted that Lizzie had indeed visited them. He confessed that he had engaged in sexual activities with both women and tied them up with ropes. At some point, things went terribly wrong, and Lizzie accidentally died. Seth's interrogation lasted 11 hours. He recounted that after Lizzie's death, he and Kat took her body to Portsmouth. There, they drove to the place where the Piscataqua River flows into the Atlantic Ocean and threw Lizzie's body into the water before returning home. Seth's confession was kept strictly confidential, with only the police privy to the details. After the confession, Seth led the police to the location where he claimed they had disposed of Lizzie's body. Pierce Island, Piscataqua River, a place known for its strong tides and currents. Seth Mazzaglia was arrested and charged with murder. Lizzie's parents were devastated when they received the heartbreaking news. They had feared the worst and now had their worst suspicions confirmed. On Saturday, October 13th, a candlelight vigil was held in memory of Lizzie Marriott. In memory of 19-year-old Lizzie Marriott, the investigation into her case gained momentum. Detectives searched Seth and Kat's apartment, which was in complete disarray, making it difficult to find any clues. However, in the dumpster near Seth Mazzaglia's house, detectives discovered a bag containing men's underwear, a pair of black leather gloves, and Lizzie's hoodie. Forensic analysis later revealed that the underwear had DNA traces from both Seth and Lizzie, suggesting intimate contact between them. Police units were dispatched to search the Piscataqua River, combing through it for weeks, but they couldn't find Lizzie's body. Detectives concluded that the strong currents likely carried her remains into the Atlantic Ocean. 2 days after Seth's arrest, Kat McDonough met with her lawyer and recorded a video confession. In it, Kat admitted that Lizzie had been at their apartment on October 9th. She described how they watched a movie, played strip poker, and then decided to engage in intimate activities. According to Kat, Lizzie consented to being tied up with ropes. Kat even drew a diagram showing how Seth had tied Lizzie. Initially, everything seemed fine, but then Lizzie suddenly had a seizure, began to suffocate, and soon lost consciousness and died. Lizzie's family refused to believe that she would willingly participate in such activities with strangers. To them, Kat's story seemed fabricated. Lizzie's friends confirmed that Lizzie was in a committed relationship with a girl named Brittany and valued their relationship too much to cheat. 2 months after Lizzie's death, Kat McDonough was arrested and charged with 3 counts of obstruction of justice and investigation. While in custody, Kat and Seth continued to communicate, even planning an escape to another country where they intended to get married. However, their plan failed. Following this, Seth wrote a letter to Kat, expressing his belief in black magic and that they would be reborn and meet in another life. The more time Kat spent away from Seth, the clearer her mind became. Eventually, prosecutors offered Kat a deal: a reduced prison sentence in exchange for testifying against Seth and revealing the truth about what happened that night. Kat accepted, agreeing to tell the whole story in return for a reduced sentence of 3 years. In May 2014, 2 years after Lizzie's death, Seth Mazzaglia stood trial. Prosecutors argued that Seth's actions were deliberate, calculated, and cold-blooded. They read out messages Seth had sent to Kat on August 25th, 6 weeks before the tragedy. In these messages, Seth ordered Kat to find a third partner to live with them as a new slave, and also demanded that she find him a new girlfriend while she was away. In August 2012, Kat had left the city for 10 days to attend a theater camp but had failed to find a replacement for herself, as no one responded to her post seeking a third partner. By the end of the summer, Seth began sending constant threats to Kat, warning that he would severely punish her if she didn't bring a friend for him to have intimate contact with in front of her. During the 2014 trial, Kat took the stand and provided a new version of events. She admitted that she was terrified of Seth and obeyed his every command. In an attempt to fulfill his demands, she invited Lizzie to their apartment. Lizzie had visited Kat once before, spending the evening chatting as friends. Lizzie trusted Kat, so when she was invited again, she accepted without hesitation. According to Kat, Seth knew beforehand that Lizzie would be coming and had commented on how pretty she was after seeing her photos. On the evening of October 9th, Lizzie arrived at Seth Mazzaglia's apartment around 9 p.m. On October 9th, they turned on a movie and decided to play strip poker, a ploy by Seth and Kat to prepare Lizzie for an intimate encounter. The room was dimly lit as they played cards, joked, and laughed. Lizzie lost the most, ending up in just her underwear. When she lost again, Seth suggested she kiss Kat, but Lizzie refused, stating she was in a serious relationship. Seth then proposed an intimate encounter with him in another room, which Lizzie also refused. Furious at the refusals, Seth's demeanor changed. Lizzie and Kat were sitting on the floor, watching a movie together. Seth went into the next room, put on black leather gloves, and retrieved a rope. Returning to the girls, he sat behind Lizzie on the bed, then suddenly threw the rope over her neck and mercilessly strangled her. After Lizzie was dead, Seth fulfilled his grim desires, having intimate contact with her lifeless body while Kat, too frightened to intervene, watched in horror. At 10:49 p.m., Seth called his friend Roberta, asking for help. Roberta and her boyfriend Paul arrived after 11 p.m. They found Seth sitting on the bed, Lizzie's dead body at his feet, clad only in underwear with a plastic bag over her head. Kat, visibly shaken, was in the kitchen. When Roberta and Paul inquired about what had happened, Seth could only repeat, "Everything has gone too far." Unwilling to get involved, they advised Seth to call an ambulance and left without notifying the police, fearing complications. After their friends departed, Seth approached Kat and said, "We can handle this together. Are you with me? Too afraid to argue, Kat complied. Around 1 a.m., Seth and Kat wrapped Lizzie's body in a bag and placed it in a suitcase, which they loaded into Lizzie's car. They then drove to Pierce Island by the Piscataqua River, avoiding major roads. Upon arrival, they dragged the suitcase to a viewpoint above the river, pulled Lizzie's body out, and Seth threw it off the cliff. Unfortunately, Lizzie landed on the visible rocks below due to the low water level. Seth ordered Kat to drag the body into the water. Kat complied, covering Lizzie with seaweed and pushing her into the river. Afterwards, they cleaned Lizzie's car and abandoned it in a campus parking lot, walking the 6 miles back to their house. The next day, they focused on destroying evidence. Kat did not report to the police, fearing Seth's retribution. She lied about Lizzie not visiting them to avoid testifying against him. At the trial, Kat often cried but without tears. When the prosecutor questioned her about it, she had no explanation. Seth's lawyer argued that Kat's second story was a fabrication, emphasizing her skills as a professional actress and liar. The defense admitted Seth's involvement in disposing of the body, but claimed he was not responsible for Lizzie's death. Kat's defense painted a picture of her being under Seth's control, isolated from friends and family, and forced into submission. A key piece of evidence was the black leather gloves found in the trash, which bore Lizzie's DNA, indicating premeditation by Seth to avoid leaving traces. In June 2014, the court found 32-year-old Seth Mazzaglia guilty of first-degree murder, sentencing him to life in prison without parole. 20-year-old Kat McDonough, after accepting a plea deal, was sentenced to 3 years in prison and was released in July 2016. The body of 19-year-old Lizzie Marriott has never been found. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more shocking and compelling stories ahead.